Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I am here with my friend Sergio. And today we are going to be doing the Scholar book tag. I was tagged in this by Old Blues Chapter and Verse. He tagged me in this for a while ago, but it's taken me a while to get to this. But finally, I'm doing. Finally, I'm doing this because I need to get these tags, well, at least 3 more tags done by the end of the year, and this will be my second tag, and I have 2 more already filmed and ready to go. So, well, not ready to go, I still need to edit them, but here we are. I have Sergio joining me today because he is a English major.
Something along those
lines. So he knows a lot more about, like, books as a scholar than I do, since I'm just a casual reader.
Right.
And reading the questions for this tag, I realized I am not as well read as people think I am, and as well read as I thought I was. So,
what's funny is you probably read a lot more than I do, but I probably have to digest stuff like way more than you do.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's a lot different, and especially for this tag with the questions, as you'll see.
Right. Which even like, I mean, frankly, I think most of these questions are really for someone that's been reading for a few decades. I don't think they're for the average person.
Yeah,
they're pretty tough.
Yeah, so me and you have only been here for maybe like a decade and a half or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And the person who created this tag has a lot more time in his
yeah.
belt.
Oh, yeah.
So these questions weren't like really easy to answer. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. And the first question is, which lesser-known writer do you feel more people need to read and study? So for me, that's Jeff Lemire. And a lot of people have heard me on this channel talk about Jeff Lemire. He's a comic book writer, graphic novel writer, and he's written some pretty good stuff. Essex County, I really like by him. He's written
Did you read Trillium?
I haven't read Trillium yet.
Right.
But I read Essex County. I've read Royal City by him.
Okay.
I read like the Thanos run he had.
He did. Okay.
He did like a small run of
I
Thanos.
think
I borrowed that
yeah.
one, and then he also did this one called Roughneck, which I just found.
Okay.
I want to read that.
He did that AD one, which is really abstract.
After that was quite an interesting one too.
Yeah.
So I think like his stuff is very, it's not. Well, he does do like superhero capes.
I think he gets,
but he does very good at showing everyday normal people living and making their stories really good in a comic book medium.
Right.
Very, very well, in my opinion.
I think right now he's getting a good amount of attention, but I don't think he's getting the acclaim that he should be getting.
Like he's probably known by only like a small number of people in that graphic novel comic book community.
Right.
But not nearly as enough as I think he deserves.
Because he's a really, really brilliant guy in his prose. It's just, I mean, when you read a lot of these comics, it's pretty amateurish.
Right,
and there's nothing special, and it's like, well, maybe a 17-year-old could have written this. But then guys like Jeff Lemire, it's the guy that did Saga.
Brian
Vaughn.
Yeah.
Even Greg Rucka, those guys. It's like, dude, this is a quality writer. They should be getting paid thousands for this, and rightfully so.
Right.
So guys like Jeff Lemire, yeah. I think, my hopes is that someday these writers that are considered more pop culture can be raised to the same level as the academics.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into that later.
Right.
Should we go on to question number 2?
Yeah, unless you have if you have someone, a lesser-known writer you think should be more read and studied.
Well, not that I can think of the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So number 2 is, which well-known writer do you feel garners too much attention? And you wrote Hemingway.
I did write Hemingway. I tried to read Hemingway twice. That was The Old Man in the Sea and The Sun Also Rises.
The Sun Also Rises.
And both have been DNFs.
So you find that in reader circles he gets
I find that
attention?
in reader circles he gets, like, he's like a legend.
Oh, he is.
And I don't see, like, I don't see the backup proof for that. So far, like I read him, I'm like, this is okay, but it's not something that like grabbed me and be like, oh man, like Ernest Hemingway, you have to read.
See, the first time I read him, it was a short story that was actually about like him debating whether him and this chick should have abortion. I don't know if it was actually him or just a character of his. I didn't get it at all. It was confusing as shit. I did not enjoy it. Anyway, but in like the university circles, he just doesn't get talked about at all. Same with Vonnegut. I haven't seen Vonnegut get talked about. And it's like there's almost this skip of like we have all this stuff. We'll say like the World War II poets.
Right.
we don't talk about what happens in between, and then they just skip to all the ethnic writers, which they have their merit, but there's a chunk of history missing there, and you can't tell me good.
Wait, World War One or World War Two?
I wouldn't know so much about World Wars, but like T.S. Eliot and those
Okay,
guys, like the World War
Gotcha.
One, it's considered like creme de la creme.
Right. Because I read T.S. Eliot too, Poems Wasteland, and I didn't really like Wasteland, the poem Wasteland, or like some of his earlier work I did like. Okay. But as time went on, and like Wasteland, which is like the pinnacle of his work, edited by E. Cummings, which was a big poet back then. Okay. And it didn't really impress me at all. So yeah, for me, Ernest Hemingway is that guy. At least in writer circles, I'm not sure how much in academia.
Maybe the attention that he should get academia, he's getting in the writer circles. Maybe. And just kind of, I mentioned it to you in passing, was A Movable Feast by him, which I'm just finishing up right now. It's like, if you can't vibe with the weird Hemingway sentence structures, that one's just a good, like, little bits and pieces of stories, and you don't need, like, really to sit down and digest it so much. It's just enjoyable at face value. It's just the guy's memoirs, you know.
All right, cool. So, moving on to question 3, a writer or work you believe will be in the canon by 2050.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that writer is going to be Octavia Butler.
Yeah.
I've read Kindred by Octavia Butler, and it was absolutely amazing. You let me borrow that. Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. This year, I'm going to read Parable, the Parable of the Sower.
Is that her sci-fi stuff?
I think it is.
Okay.
Parable of the Sower, and well, it's more like sci-fi dystopian. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's another one. There's a sequel to that. It's a duology. But I think like just reading,
Kindred.
Just reading Kindred, was an experience that was great. I think she deserves a lot more attention. I don't think a lot of people know about Octavia Butler. I didn't really know about Octavia Butler until I got into BookTube.
Right.
And some people were like, "Oh, or, like here's a African American woman who writes sci-fi."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh," and the Kindred was amazing.
Well, and with the popularity now of Afrofuturism,
right?
She could definitely.
She's definitely. I think she's going to get more attention.
Yeah.
Going forward.
I read one short story by her, and it's really bizarre. Where it was something along the lines of a society where humans aren't like the top of the food chain, and instead it's these weird like worm-like things, and they use humans the way we might use dogs and cattle. But it wasn't Planet of the Apes. It was its own interpretation, and it's like the human gets like nurses off of these creatures. Bizarre, but nonetheless extremely good. And I think she definitely gets enough attention right now that she'll definitely be canonized.
Yeah, I think so. As we move forward,
she'll definitely be canonized.
Yeah, especially with the spotlight being shown on like more diverse writers and stuff like that. I think she's definitely gonna get a lot more attention.
And then for me, I think, talking about this earlier, I really wish that all the guys in graphic novels would start getting the attention they deserve. Right. Because you have guys like Jeff Lemire,
Scott McCloud,
Alan Moore, Scott McCloud, Neil Gaiman. Although I think he's gotten
a lot of attention, especially with American Gods coming in, becoming a TV show now. A lot of his work, Sandman is like big for with him. So
and I find those guys, like when done right, that medium is just as heavy as traditional, like we'll say novels, which is considered the hallmark, right? Novels and poetry. So I think, just gonna more in general say all the dudes involved in graphic novels, that it'll be treated with more respect as opposed to the funny books for children. Right. That's my hope.
I agree with that. So question 4, a writer from your area, state, or country that you believe deserves more recognition. For this one was actually kind of hard for me. I think I wrote down Scott Hawkins, who wrote The Library at Mount Char.
You're losing me.
Yeah, so I read The Library in Mount Char, and I think you guys heard about that in my last tag video. Basically, it's a library's built. This guy. He's basically, you can almost say he's almost like God. He just has enough knowledge to be like this kind of godlike character. And he takes in these kids and he trains them to be like a really good in one particular area. So one's really good at going into like the land of death and coming back. One's good at like talking to animals and things like that. Everyone has their particular set of skills. And basically he's like a terrible father.
But each of them are great at something.
Each of them are great at something, and he has a bigger plan in story, which you find out along the way. And the story is really wacky and crazy, but it's not wacky and crazy enough to make you stop reading.
Was this the one where you were saying that it's pure nonsense all the way
through?
It's
pure nonsense. You're like, what's going on here? Like the level of crazy keeps going up and up, and you're like, where are we gonna hit the limit? And just when you think you've hit it, it goes to another level crazy.
Right.
So but he's done it in a way where you don't feel that this is like too off the wall or ridiculous that I can't finish it.
Right.
Like I'm just gonna DNF. Like everyone that we read in the book club was like, this was a great read. As wacky and crazy as it was, he did a very good job at still keeping it somehow grounded enough so that you, the reader, didn't just go, "Oh, this is ridiculous."
So he keeps you entertained.
He keeps you entertained, and it was just that right amount of. I've never seen a writer be like on the edge like that and still maintain like a good story and keep you as a reader in the story. So that's why I think he should get more like a recognition. I'm not sure how well known he is, but I knew nothing about him before reading this book.
Interesting.
So, but I know the book's got a lot of like accolades and stuff, but I still don't know how many people actually know him.
See, when I see it's like writer for my era, it's like, I'll be honest, I'm pretty shallow on that. Like I have
too.
no idea. I like Kevin Smith, man, and I think he's got enough like recognition, and that he's not so much novelist. He's more like a screenwriter. You know, and I think his earlier stuff, like Chasing Amy or even Clerks. Which is, you know,
the quintessential
experimental in its own right. I think he's gotten enough credit. So off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone. I'd like to know more writers from my area.
Me too.
Honestly. You know, like for example, I mean, the comedian Joey Diaz. Although he's not a writer, it's nice to see some merit from your area. When he talks about New Jersey, it's like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So let's see, a deceased... Was number 5? All right, number 5. A deceased writer you feel should have won the Nobel Prize in Literature.
And, you know, for me, I wrote down Edgar Allan Poe. I'm reading Edgar Allan Poe now. I've gotten through, like, some of his short stories, all his poems. And I really think that he deserves a Nobel Prize for his writing.
I think people don't give him that because he's almost like the edgelord's writer. You know, like I love Edgar Allan Poe, but he's so dark and brooding.
Right. I don't think he would have ever won one.
Right. It's like punk rock bands.
Right. He's like on the edge of mainstream.
Right.
And then like now his works today are considered great, but back then it was kind of like, oh, right. Well, I mean, he's great there in that genre, but I don't think in the wider world of literature, let's give him a Nobel Prize.
Right, because like for example, say a punk rock band's all about working man's music and it's all anti-establishment. Well, can you do that after you win a Grammy or whatever the music award is? You know,
it's the Grammys.
It's a Grammy, right? So yeah, it's kind of conflicting. I think he's absolutely great. I think he's one of the great American writers. I'm not sure if he's quite deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize.
Not Peace Prize, it's Nobel Prize.
Nobel Peace.
Yeah, Peace Prize for like, you know, like recognitions of like peaceful doing stuff for peace.
That's all political. Yeah. It is all political, and they've done, you know, their own essays on that, whether if it's really a political thing as opposed to just like the merit for art. You know. All right, so number 6. A living writer you feel should win the Nobel Prize in Literature.
Yeah, and for me, I said Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie for Americana. Really, one of the best reads I've ever read in a novel form. I really enjoyed the read. Look, I could see some of the same experiences with the main character. Of course, some of them are different because she was seeing from an immigrant perspective. But she still had like a African American experience. Or the experience of someone who was like black in America. Let's put it like a black in America.
So you're saying it almost like perfectly encapsulates the period.
It encapsulates being black and immigrant in America. And I thought that was a really timely novel and very well done, in my opinion.
A book similar to that is, have you ever heard, it's Behold the Dreamers by Mbola Mbwe? I don't know.
I have heard of it, but I haven't,
That one, you know, it was so accurate with the immigrant experience that it almost made me uncomfortable. It's like she was just like hating on every single thing, And there's no way she could have written this without herself being an immigrant. And also, I think it had to be based on someone's life because the details were just like, you can't make this up.
Right.
You know. Moving on to the next question.
Yeah. Unless you have like a living writer, you think.
I'm uncultured. A writer you feel needs a complete anthology of their work.
Now, this one is a really hard one. I mean, because one, I haven't read, like, I mean, there are writers that I like, but I haven't read, like a whole bunch of their work to be like, all right, so this all belongs in the anthology.
Right.
So this one is, like, kind of hard for me. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's an Isaac Asimov anthology out there. It has to be.
There has to be,
because he is, like, the quintessential, like, sci-fi writer.
Sci-fi.
Just like, you know, there's an anthology for all of Tolkien stuff.
I'm certain
out there somewhere,
be,
right?
Yeah.
So like, but those would be the guys I would like to read their anthologies: Tolkien, Asimov, even C.S. Lewis. Not just Chronicles of Narnia, but all the other stuff he wrote.
He has a lot of
Christianity,
stuff.
Screw Tape Letters, the sci-fi series that he wrote. All those works in one space. I think I would, especially C.S. Lewis stuff, because his is like very wide range. Because not only does he do like fantasy. He's done some sci-fi.
He wrote a lot of essays.
He wrote a lot of essays.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot about Christianity. So I think if I had to see someone, and I think there probably is like anthologies out there, but for me personally, if I wanted to, one that I wanted to read, it'd be C.S. Lewis.
Okay. Yeah, I think anthologies wise, I was mentioning to you before the video, I feel most people that deserve an anthology have gotten one. And then the people that haven't gotten one, well, time will tell.
Right.
Because, you know, it's like, we'll say earlier you were talking about Octavia Butler. I don't know if she has an anthology. I wouldn't doubt that she might get one later.
Right.
Because anthologies, you know, happen years and years afterwards. Like Shakespeare would... That's funny, that actually his first publication was an anthology because he's so damn good. But, you know, what's another big writer? Say like Salinger, who I consider to be a great American writer, or Vonnegut. It's like, it's going to be a little while.
All right, so we went on for quite a while here, so I'm actually going to end it here and split this into 2 parts, and you can find part 2 tomorrow on my channel. And so basically, if you like what we've done so far, be back tomorrow to see the next part of this video. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostStreet28, and also the link to my Goodreads is down in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.
Keep reading.